Hey everybody, I'm here with Stacey and it is our fourth Hot Seat live session for the Boss Girl Creative community. Do not forget to mark your calendar for Monday, May the 6th. That is when this form for your hot seat opens up, and there are 4 available every single month, and it's first come, first serve. So mark your calendar, because I'm not telling you what time I'm going to load that form into the Facebook group for you to go grab your hot seat. So we are talking to Stacey today, and Stacey, before we get started, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell us about your business and or blogging journey from when you first started to where you are right now, and then we will jump into whatever we are going to be chatting about today.
Okay. Well, I don't have a real journey yet, but
Okay.
well, that's why I'm here. So, my name is Stacey Pace, and I was thinking of other things to do. I have a full time job. I'm a single mom. I'll be 50 this year, and so I started late, and I have a child who's 9. So I have a long way to go before that. While all of my friends empty nested, I'm starting over basically. So I was looking for more things to do that kept me at peace, away from the stress of the full-time job, and that allowed me to be able to do all the things I needed to do with my daughter, who's now getting busy.
Okay.
So I just searched around for things and started, paper crafting and doing rhinestone designs and things like that. And they were very relaxing. And I was like, wow, I wonder if people have businesses that do that. So, of course, did all the searching. It's like, wow, this is kind of amazing. And then I fell into planning and started with the whole planner thing and with the stickers and the planner jewelry and all those wonderful things. So I wanted to do something that relates to that because there's such a large community in all of those pieces. But my problem was I wanted to do all of those things. And you can't do all of those things, right? So I had to figure out, and I'm actually still figuring out how to add all of these things to my life and still be able to do the full time job that I love because it's very necessary, and do the things that I need to do with my daughter and still have my peace, my comfort, have that additional stream of income. And but it's these are all the things that I love to do. When I'm crafting or planning, I'm very relaxed. I'm at peace. It's the world is wonderful during all of that time, but um, all of that is hard when you have all of these ideas running around in your head. And I want things to be cohesive. I don't want to just jump in with, part A and jump in with part B and it doesn't all flow. And so I'm having a struggle putting all of that together. And I think part of my problem is, of course, they tell you go to YouTube, you'll find everything, and so you go to YouTube, but everybody has different ways of doing things. Everybody has different methods. They have different ideas about things. And they all sound good, but some of them just don't work with how I want to deal with that. So I have to come into my own. So my business name is Her Dazzling Creations, and I started it as a sole prop, and eventually if I really get it jumping and growing, I'll talk to try to do other things with the entity type for that. But what my goal is for a couple of things is to try to figure out how to prioritize all of my ideas and to do the pieces that I need to do. I do want to start a blog, and I've been writing blog topics on. There are a lot of women in my position who had their first child after 40 and are going through some of the same things that I'm going through, like being the oldest mom in the third grade classroom. Yes, have the most gray hair, that type of thing. So, just trying to express those things, and because I realize I'm not the only person out there going through all of this, whatever it is, and just having and building that community. Some of them already exist, but I'd like to be a part of that and have people draw to me
Oh,
for
okay.
that, if that
Yep.
helps understand all of that.
Yes.
So you were talking about in one of your podcasts, and I think one of the lives, your Enneagram.
Yes.
And as part of my full time job, we have a management counselor, and I'm a manager there. So they get us all together. And he had us do that about a year or so ago.
Okay.
And so I'm a two wing three.
Okay.
Just so you know, it says I'm a helper with an achiever wing.
Yes.
So, and then he did another thing called a culture index, which I don't
Okay.
know if you've heard of. It's
I haven't.
very good.
Okay.
But it found out that I was super duper social. And he told me that he has never seen one that social before. And I thought,
Oh,
oh, that's very interesting.
I'm gonna write this down while you're keep talking. I'm gonna write
But
culture index.
the um the thing that I have with, I am very social, and I do like to be involved, but I think my social is more face to face.
Okay.
So I'm also trying to figure out how to incorporate that. I'm not sure if that's YouTube or not. This right now is making me a little eerie, but I'm getting better.
It's just me and you, Stacey. Me and you.
I know, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out, and in taking from you, I need to find my blue person because right now I'm my blue person. Well, I'm
Hey,
gonna.
but there is something to be said about that, and we'll talk about that in just a second. There
Okay,
is something to be said that you are your blue person.
agreed, and I understand that because I'm the only one who knows me,
Yes.
so that makes plenty of sense. But for the most part, that's I'm looking to. Try to narrow things down and stop being all over the board because it's just my notes are just all over the place. They're
Okay.
wacky, and pulling all of my ideas together and really focusing on what I should start with, how I should move through and be able know when to move to the next step. And that was a lot, but
Let's break a little bit of that down. So the first thing that I would encourage you to explore is what what is your reason for your why? So what I'm hearing you say is you are at a stage in your life that where you're feeling like there's not a lot of people similar to you, but you want to attract those people so that they realize they have their own community. You guys
correct.
have a community of like-minded women who are in a very similar life stage as you are.
Mhm.
That's the first thing I hear. Second thing I hear is you appreciate having a self-care hobby related to paper crafts and jewelry. Not jewelry, just
Planning.
paper craft. Planning,
Paper.
yes.
Hmm.
Paper crafts and planning. That basically is your time away to recharge your batteries.
Hmm.
But I think you also, what I'm hearing you say is you want to be able to share that love with others to encourage them to either take on these similar things, these similar
Correct.
hobbies as you, or for them to explore their own passions
That's it.
and hobbies so that they have time for self-care because you guys are all in this similar life stage.
Correct.
Okay. So the first thing I would encourage you to do, and it's going back to my first question, is figuring out what is your why and what message you are wanting to present to the world. I do think a blog is going to be smart for you because I think it's going to allow you to share the things that you are doing for your own self-care. So I think your story that you can interweave through that is the message of the life stage that you are in,
Right.
the building of the community that you are also wanting for yourself as well, not
Hmm.
just to be the one that creates the community, but the
Right.
one that can also benefit from the community. And so I don't necessarily think that your blog posts are going to be geared towards teaching someone how to use a planner.
Right.
Will you write about how you use your planner? Absolutely. That will bring you traffic. I think your message to me, as I'm hearing it right now, is you're wanting to create a community of like-minded women, either virtually or in person.
Yes.
You being the social person that you are, I would encourage you to explore the in-person events as well. But your blog is more of a hub to create that community.
Yes.
So
Okay.
you could also ask for, as you build your community, could also ask for guest contributors so that they're also writing about their stories and how they found you, how they found this love of, planning or paper crafts or sewing or whatever it is, because you guys are all sharing the same kind of message, and I feel like you're trying to be the connector so that you guys can walk this journey together, because life doesn't need to be spent by yourself. I always encourage people to find like-minded communities so that you do feel like you have a little bit of a crutch to lean on if you need to, or you have a cheerleader system, or you have people that you can, pop into a Facebook group at 11, PM at night and be like, oh my gosh, my 9-year-old is driving me nuts. And they don't judge you for that.
Right.
Right. So I think what I see best for you moving forward is when you write, I would just write from your heart, in the sense that you're just trying to go out and be the connector to create this community and to build this community. And you guys just are exploring what is the best self-care for us in our life stage, and not necessarily limiting it to people that just enjoy planning or just enjoy scrapbooking. I don't think you're here to be like, I'm going to teach you how to scrapbook. I'm going to teach you how to be a planner. But I'm going to share my love of those things. And if you also have a love of those things, great. We're going to get along really great. But I'm here to also help you explore what you can also do, because we're in this life journey together. So if you write about, your top 5 tips for exploring a new hobby, that's going to resonate with your community. If you write about, you would be writing about the things that these like-minded women are also searching for.
Right.
So you're not necessarily trying to give them parenting advice. You're not necessarily trying to give them, carpool advice. You're trying
exactly.
What are you supposed to do when you sit in your, and you're waiting in the pickup line? What are we supposed to be doing? Best podcast to listen. You know what I'm saying? I think you would be a better connector, unless you do want to explore these things and become a thought leader in this life stage. And you totally could do that. How many, I don't know if you've done your research, but how many people are in a very similar life stage that are bloggers? What are they doing?
Yeah, that's been looking at that a little bit too.
Yeah. And, being that connector, finding the women that are in a like-minded stage as you, as far as life journeys, seeing what they're doing. What are they talking about? What's important to them? What are they putting, or what are they hitting publish on? Are they being connectors? Are they being teachers? Are they being, just writers and trying to find other people that are in similar situations as they are? So I think you've got something really cool in the works, something to also explore. When I first went out to Midland, I didn't know anybody. And I had to live in a hotel room 3 weeks at a time. And I was a huge crafter. I took every single one of my craft supplies out there. Back in the day, I did cards. I was really big with Stampin' Up. And that's how I spent my evenings, was making cards, because I didn't have anybody to connect with. And when I finally connected with the spouse of one of my coworkers, she was also a crafter. we started our own crafter hours. So at 8 p.m. at night, I would go over to their home and we would stay up until midnight, just enjoying each other's company and working on the craft that we were presently working on. She
Mm-hmm.
was a knitter and I was a paper person. And just that fellowship and community
It's
was,
huge.
yes.
It's
I was in
huge.
a town that I didn't know anybody, and just being able to find somebody that had a love of crafts,
Mm-hmm.
of having a hobby. And she was a stay-at-home mom. They had, at the time, they had a 2-year-old, and he was the bread and butter and was gone all day long. She legit was the parent all day long. And this was a chance for her to be able to finally have time for herself, and spend time with a fellow girlfriend who
Mm-hmm.
had similar interests. So
Mm-hmm.
I could totally see you creating, if it's not at 8 o'clock, maybe it's a Sunday afternoon or
Sure.
whatever, but like creating these crafter hours where
It's a good
you
idea.
get together with women and you guys just work on whatever it is that you're working on.
That's a good idea. That's something I would think about because that's what I'm looking for. I've been trying to find like meetups and things like that, but haven't really found one that fits. And so maybe I need to be the, as you say,
Creator.
the creator of
Yes,
that. Yes,
creator and
yes.
connector. And use meetup.com to put your thing out there,
Hmm.
because then, I mean, you never know who is going to stumble on that. Even if you start it with 2 or 3 people,
Right.
get it out there so that others can potentially find it as well, and grow it.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome. Thank you. That is something I will have to add to the list of everything else. But this helps me narrow it down because really that is my goal. I'm really not looking to teach people, really. I'm just looking for these women to have a place to be able to say, hey, that's me. I finally have somebody that's just like me, or we have similar situations going on, and I'd like to talk about that too, or this is somebody I can communicate with about it. And that's really what I'd like to have.
You can also do these things virtually. You can have, I know Zoom allows you to have multiple people on. I
Oh, yeah.
know Be Live, what we're using right now, has multiple people
Okay.
that can be on without actually broadcasting anywhere. But
Okay.
you could actually host, virtual crafter hours. So if you have someone that's up in Dallas, or you have somebody that's in Nashville, or you have someone that's, in Missouri, you guys can still have time spent together where you turn on your camera
Mm-hmm.
and you guys come together and you're still working. Like, even if you are sitting way in the background,
Mm-hmm.
you're still being able to converse with each other about whatever it is that you want to converse about, but
Oh.
still do things. Like, you could work on your planner if you're doing a week spread. You
Mm-hmm.
could work on your planner for the next week. That person can be knitting. This person can be scrapbooking. It doesn't have to necessarily be in person. You could cultivate a community of crafter hours virtually.
Oh, and that could satisfy my social too. Yeah, I used to work at home full time,
Okay.
and I stopped working at home full time because I felt like I needed to be around people and in an office. But people aren't always everything. But hey, it is what it is. But I enjoy the people that I work with, and I enjoy that time that I spend and having that conversation with them. So, but it's having the conversation. So, yes, I agree. Like a virtual group could really work. Yeah, that's a good idea that I could add that if I when I'm starting the blog and as it's growing, put that out there to see what kind of interest I would get from that. That
Yeah.
sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And all you have to, I think Zoom has a paid plan.
Hmm.
So you could form kind of some kind of a community membership where people contribute $5 a month to pay for the software that you need to to come together
Mm-hmm.
and do those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then your in-person events is just, find a library or a community center that you can use that's relatively inexpensive. Or if you want people in your home, obviously that doesn't cost you anything
Sure.
except for your time.
Sure.
Um, but I think that you could create something really cool out of exploring your own life journey right now. I
Mm-hmm.
think that because you are a social person, I think this is so cool.
It's been in my spirit for a while, and I just haven't really been able to gather everything and put it together. So you're really helping me finalize that and narrow down these pieces to be able to get it moving. It's kind of hit a roadblock for me. So moving that on to the next step.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And you
Hmm.
don't have to start out with anything major. Like,
Right.
you just actively write when you're compelled to write. Obviously, consistency will be on your side. So if you choose to write a new blog post about what's been going on, what projects you're working on,
Hmm.
who you've met recently, anything that's upcoming, if you start a Facebook group specifically for a community of like-minded women, if you're going to be hosting crafter hours virtually or an in-person, you call it whatever you want. We
Hmm.
called ours crafter hours.
Hmm.
Um, and just use that as your kind of your sounding board
Right.
to allow people to find you. So the more often that you are writing about this, the more the better the chance that people are going to find it. And people know people. People like it's amazing how the spider web starts branching out. Like
Hmm.
you find one person, that person probably knows somebody that's in the same boat. They tell that person probably also knows somebody in the same boat.
Hmm.
And in 3 months, you're like, oh my gosh, I have 1,000 women, and this is amazing. And I mean, like, if you're thinking business minded down the future, I mean, you could have hubs in Nashville, you could have hubs in Houston, you could have hubs
Hmm.
in Denver, you could have and you were the person that connected them all.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Yeah, that helps a lot. That was really what I was looking for. That is, it's just been such a struggle because I don't sleep well. Insomnia is my friend right now. And so I would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning with these ideas running around in my head about it and just not sure how to collect them and get them implemented or determine if they should be implemented, basically. But this is very helpful to kind of get me a little more tunnel vision on a certain path. So I'm excited about that. That I'm going to be up all night. I bet. I
So
got to go to
what,
work
okay,
tomorrow too.
I'm going to flip this back to you. What,
Sure.
what are your next steps going to be?
So my next steps are going to be I actually need to sit down and look at from this all of my pages of notes that I have. And I need to take those notes and reformat them basically and put them in kind of a priority order
Okay.
and determine what's this is what I want first. This is what I want. And then taking those and say, this will help me get started on what I want. This is step one. Here's this idea. Here's this idea. Either this idea is not going to work or this idea is later type thing. So it
Okay.
will help me make that adjustment. Um, I'm thinking about, I need to come up with a name because my business, Her Dazzling Creations, I don't think really fits this, but I'm not so sure. I
Okay.
haven't figured out a way. I like cohesiveness. I just really like for things to flow. That's my thing. And no matter what's going to be involved, I need it to all relate
Okay.
one way or the other. So I possibly need to come up with a different name. I haven't really thought yet about what that name is, but that's something I need to research. Looking, my favorite thing is going to thesaurus.com, just looking at words and thinking about what I want and seeing if I can put that together. But I don't want it to be very common. I want it to stand out.
Okay.
So that's going to be part of that too. But I think it will help me get to that point once I take my notes and go through my steps and prioritize my pieces and get rid of those things that may not apply anymore.
Okay. Love it.
Um, I have a few blog posts written by a few, I mean, less than five, but I have some written already and that I haven't really gone back to edit
Okay.
yet. I like to write it, walk away for a very long time, and then come back and see, is that really what I'm trying to say? Or I like to be grammatically correct, but sometimes I'm going to speak to
Yes.
people too. I don't want to sound like the professor. I
Yes.
want to sound like me. I want to
Yep.
say, look, this is me. This is what I'm doing. Girl, stop, or girl, let's go. Whatever it
Yes.
is, and that's kind of what I need to go back and do as well. So
Okay.
I need to give myself a deadline. I think.
Okay.
Um, that's one thing I haven't been doing because this has been in my mind for a very long time and like longer than 5 months, I would say. It's been a minute. And I really need to give myself a deadline and I need to hold myself accountable. And that's my problem is that I'm not holding myself accountable because I'll
Okay.
say, I need to do this by Wednesday. I need to have this done by next Wednesday. And next Wednesday will roll around. And I'll be like, okay, yeah, maybe the Wednesday after that. And I'll just keep letting that roll. And that's why I haven't gotten any further than
Okay.
just my note taking. So I will be giving myself deadlines for my different steps
Okay.
and making that so because I need to give myself that and a launch date and once I start giving myself deadlines and setting a launch date working toward that launch date I need to figure, do I need to set a launch date and then build the deadlines to that or the other way around?
I would give yourself a launch date and then work backwards from there so you
Okay.
know if that is a doable launch date. Because
Okay.
what I don't want to see happen is you say I'm going to launch this May 31st, but you have 3 more steps that you didn't account for because once
Gotcha.
you set that date and you realized, okay, this is step 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to shove 5 steps into 1 week. No way.
Mm-hmm.
So figure out your launch date without like saying that, announcing that to anywhere,
Right.
and then work backwards to see is that a doable launch date, and then
Fair
make the
enough.
adjustment once you get all the steps figured out, and then set your real launch date.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes plenty of sense. Okay. That helps a lot. It's eased a lot for me
Good.
today. This has been a struggle for me for a while, more so lately, but yeah, I'm really into this even more now.
Yay. Yeah, and don't forget to use the accountability thread on Monday when I ask you for your top 3 goals in the community. I come back every Monday and check in with you. So
Yes, you
use
do.
me to hold you accountable for the things that you need to be working on.
Yes, yes, you do. It sounds like, oh, she's going to be fussing at me because I'm like, I said one, two, and three, but I just got through one or
That's okay.
whatever.
Well, you know what? I am going to always be your cheerleader. So I am just here to help keep pushing you guys forward. And you're the one setting the goal for yourself in
Right,
the week. I'm just
right.
checking in to see what you accomplished.
Yes. Well, it helps me to say, you know what, Taylor's going to come back. She's going to ask. I need to have something ready. So that does help a lot.
Good.
It does. So
Good. Stacey, it has been a pleasure chatting with you.
thank you. I really appreciate it. I am pretty chatty. So this was awesome and I really
Yay.
appreciate it. And I got to go back so I can get ready for today's podcast to listen.
Today's was good.
I'm
Telling
excited.
you to stop, be busy, and to do the things that I talk about in the episode. Because I think a lot of us are just busy, but we're not as productive as we can be, which is
Yes.
what today's episode is all about.
Good. You make me think about one of your comments. I don't know if it was in a podcast or what, and you were talking about I will give you a free session if you prove to me that you don't have time to do it. But yet, you'll have time for this free session. How did you figure that out? So yeah, that hit home for sure. Yes, it was perfect.
Oh, yeah. And that just rolled off my tongue. And then I was like, wait, you're going to figure out how to have time for this free session. So
Do the
yeah.
other, do the other piece, right? That's it. Perfect.
Oh
Okay.
man. Okay, you guys. So don't forget, you can have one of these sounding board strategy sessions. The form goes open May the 6th. I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to put that in the group, but it will be on Monday, May 6th. And also this will go into the YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed, there I will put a link in the comments in this video. Please go subscribe. I need 100 people so I can go claim that fancy URL. But also that's where all of these videos are going to live, so you don't have to hunt through the thread looking for these hot seats. And there's so much good information that are coming out of these sessions, and I'm loving it. And I hope you guys are too. Again, Stacey, thank you so much for
Thank you.
participating and for being a part of the Boss Girl Creative community. It means the world to me to have you as a member of the community.
Well, you are awesome. So thank you for having it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.